Hey, welcome to Financial First Aid. I'm glad you stuck around for the second one. And I just wanted to take the time just to kind of tell you my story. If I'm going to be sitting here telling you that I'm willing to coach you and help you and teach you and tell you that, I've been where you're at and things like that, then I think you need to just know who I am. I'm just a simple guy, as you can see right here. I'm a big NASCAR fan. That's something that is very special to me, mostly because it takes me back to it was something with me and my dad, now with me and my son. But I'm going to take you back. I'm almost 40 years old. But when I was 21, I had just gotten married. I married my high school sweetheart. And at first, the kids wasn't there and finances were tight, but we were just your typical young married couple. I mean, we didn't care. And we thought we had it all figured out. And we bought, newer vehicles and had a nice house. And we're spending money on fast food, spending money on things that we really didn't even know what we needed. We just spent money just to be spending money. I remember we was living paycheck to paycheck and we just thought that was normal and everything was fine. And then as we got older, first child came, it got tight. Second child came, it got really tight. My wife and I, through just a lot of conversation, we decided that she would stay home with our kids, raise them, build a foundation for them, which meant we were going to have to make some sacrifices. And I was working full time at a factory, and as the money built up, we wasn't, you know, it was not that we were necessarily living above our means. It was just we were living comfortable, and then one of the income stopped. So I guess you could say we went from living normal to living above our means based off of our own decisions. And I don't regret that decision, but it did get tight. Money was so tight. So we started cutting costs everywhere we could possibly cut costs. Um, we got some real cheap phones. This is when flip phones was a big deal. And then the smartphones slowly started coming in. We stayed with the simple flip phones. Um, I was working 60 to 70 hours a week voluntarily just to get overtime. But here's the sad part. The 60 or 70 hours a week I was working, it was literally paying our minimum payments. And some weeks it wouldn't even make the minimum payment. Some weeks we're still in the negative, and I just worked a 70-hour week. And right, my wife was pregnant with our second. We had our first, and we wasn't getting any extra income any other way. We was just living straight off of my income, and it got tough. But we shut off cable. This was when you could still buy DVDs. You didn't look weird when you went to Walmart or Sam's and bought DVDs. So we actually started collecting TV seasons from shows that we watched growing up. The Cosby Show was one that we watched a lot of, and we just binge watched it. Saved by the Bell, Boy Meets World, all of these TV shows that we grew up on, we just kind of stayed with it. But we were working so hard trying to just pay our bills, and I thought I would even come up with these business ideas and all these businesses I was going to try to run, and it would never work out. And I had all these dreams and I had all these visions, and they would just flop before they even got on the runway. I mean, they would strike out before they even got up to bat. And I was just living a dream. But we were constantly trying to scrape where we could scrape. We had two vehicles, we sold one, we went down to one vehicle. And I finally told my wife, I come to the decision that we had no choice, and we were gonna have to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And I felt like a loser, and I felt like I had failed her. I had failed my parents, who I knew was gonna be disappointed in me. I failed my in-laws because I was supposed to be taking care of their daughter. And it it was a very low point. I won't say dark, but I will say pretty low from a financial standpoint. Is this woman, I'm supposed to be, the knight in shining armor, and when you're a real prideful person, that one cuts deep. And I felt like a loser, and I felt like I had let her down. But we made the decision, and we had to surrender our house. We had to surrender our vehicle, and we were able to find one of these buy here, pay here places. just to hold us over. And during that time, we'd made the decision to move out of state. There was a church plant going on, and we wanted to help that. And we moved out of state, and it was literally a fresh start. And I thought, this is actually a really good opportunity. And what do we have here holding us back? We have nothing here now. We've lost everything. And we thought it was a fresh start, and it ended up being. But it wasn't easy at first. You file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and everybody looks at you like you have the plague. I went into that courtroom when it was all discharged and all that, and you had to make your court appearance. You're just embarrassed. I mean, you're around all these corporate people who are there representing that company that you owe, and I'm sure it's changed a lot since then. This was in 2012, at the end of 2012, and you're embarrassed, and you think it don't get any worse than this. But these lawyers that are they're representing these companies, and then your attorney who you hope understands where you're coming from because you had a chance to tell them your story, but you're just embarrassed. So anyway, we make the move, but when you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you can't so much as get an apartment sometimes, and that was hurting us. So we had to live in just a nasty rundown trailer, single wide. Part of it was leaking. I mean, but that was the only place we could get. And I thought, I can't keep doing this to my family. So it took some talking and some negotiating to where I could get us into a nice apartment in a better area and better living conditions. When you have our second one was born just a couple months before we moved. So at this point, you're more concerned on giving them better living conditions. So during all this, we took the Financial Peace University program that Dave Ramsey has. And that was the game changer for me. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I borrowed the $100 to take the class. I don't even know if it costs that anymore. But I had heard of Dave Ramsey and the financial peace stuff, but I would listen to that show. I was working nights, and I'd be driving home, and that show would be on. I don't know if it was a rerun or not. I'm only assuming it was. But these people would call in, and he would ask them, what's your yearly income? And these people are making, $100,000 to $150,000 a year. And we just can't make it and stuff like that. And I would get so mad because here I am on my $40,000 a year income. And if I had their money, I would be living high on the hog, But so I knew that I was missing something somewhere. And that's when I discovered, taking that class, the true meaning of the debt snowball. And I took that debt snowball and I actually ran with it, and it started making sense to me on how to cut down debt the right way and how to tackle it and the discipline behind it. Because here's the thing, you can debt snowball all you want, but if you have no discipline, that's the kicker. Now, I'm not the beans and rice guy. I'm not going to sit here and coach somebody to say you're on beans and rice. Personally, I don't agree with that. Personally, I don't agree with not having a credit score or a FICO score. I think that is something that you need to have. I'm not going to be one of these financial people that say, Dave Ramsey's wrong and stuff like that. I just disagree in some areas. But overall, the principles, and most of all, the spiritual principles behind it, is what's important. So I started following these principles, and we got out of debt pretty quick. I think we did it in about a year. And now it's even more easier to get out of debt because not only do you just do it with your typical income, but something I've learned just here, recently is things that you don't need, things that you can get rid of. And I'll never forget though. So at this point, we're moved. And at this point I have moved into law enforcement. I'm actually at the academy, and I'll never forget. It was before I actually started the job on patrol. I was actually working in the county jail. And I'll never forget the feeling I had because we had worked and worked and worked on uh, paying all of our debt down. And we wrote our final check. That little vehicle that we bought, it was a little blue Ford Explorer that we bought at this buy here, pay here place. And one of our paychecks, I was able to write a check and make that final payment. We paid it off a little early. That was the best feeling in the world. And at that point, we was officially debt free. Now, a little hint for you too, and for me to say I'm a graduate of Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, and I was trained as a financial coach through his financial coach master training later, several years later. I would probably be completely disqualified if I said this, but a little free nugget for you there. You ever file bankruptcy and you want to rebuild your credit? That's the easiest time to get a credit card because they have you for at least 7 years. They have you. But if you're smart and you realize, okay, if I'm going to do this the right way, well, you get that credit card and they'll give you a balance of a grand or two. Well, put $25 on it, and that's going to rebuild your credit a little quicker. You're still going to have that notch on you for 7 years. It's just going to happen. But that during that time, that's when you're rebuilding, and that's what I had to realize is, okay, I'm rebuilding now. We went through that hard time and we're just rebuilding. And I had to get that through my head, which for me, it's a pretty thick skull. So getting through that was pretty tough, but I figured it out. But I remember for the first time thinking, I think we're on the downhill slope of this. I mean, it was going up and up and up and up, and now we're kind of going back downhill, and gravity's kind of helping us a little bit. But our debt was paid off, and I was finally. I went to the police academy. That Explorer was starting to get a little run down. Definitely not a family vehicle, but a family member had a Chrysler Town and Country van for sale, and because we had been saving money because we didn't have no debt, we was able to write a check for that van. Just wrote a check. So now we have two vehicles paid off that I paid for with cash. Now keep in mind, this wasn't no $16,000 van. I want to say we gave 7 or 8,000 for it. I can't remember. So it wasn't like we just bought a brand new vehicle and paid cash. It wasn't like that. So don't get that mixed up. But to us, it was the best thing in the world because now we have two vehicles and we're able to get around and they're paid for. Well, sometimes you make mistakes. And that whole discipline thing I was talking about, if you have the credit card, well, we started having emergencies and was like, well, we do have that credit card. And that's another thing too. Again, emergencies are going to come. And if you don't have your emergency fund built up, which we'll go through that, things are going to happen. And that's why I say, this whole getting out of this stuff is more of a thing, but I want to encourage you that what I learned is when you have your finances in order, a financial crisis becomes an inconvenience. You turn your crisis into an inconvenience. And that's what I learned through my own struggles of going through this. So eventually we bought a house. I didn't think I was going to be able to buy a house, but we had a good down payment. I think I had about $5,000 or $6,000 down payment. And we bought a house. First house we bought after the bankruptcy. I want to say, let's see here. So we filed bankruptcy in 2012 and it discharged in 2013. So that's basically when it starts your 7 years of bad luck. But we bought that house in 2017. So, even a few years shy, that right there just kind of shows you that you can still rebuild even though you are still within that 7 year window. But and again, some of it too had to be because we had, with that credit card and everything, we did rebuild our credit a little bit. I'm not saying go out and get credit cards. That would be the dumbest thing you could do. We had one. We we bought the house and it was just a year and a half later we sold it because I got this wall here that we was going to move to another state because of a job opportunity. And let me tell you, that was a mistake. But we move and we sell the house. We actually made a little bit of a profit off of it. And we was where we lived out of state for about a year and a half. And we knew it was time to go back and we wanted to go right back to where we were. So we went back and we bought our second house. And I thought I was crazy and my wife thought I was crazy, but we literally bought the house without ever physically seeing it in person. Our real estate agent, I trusted her. I loved her to death. She was great. She was our agent when we lived out of state, but she was wonderful and she helped us a lot. So a lot of FaceTime videos inside this house and things like that. But we buy the house, never step foot in it, then we move back. And for the next several years, we're just kind of building. And it was in 2020. It was right after COVID, when it was starting to settle down. It was, I guess, basically this is what life is now. So the earliest of it was done. The cool part of it was done, and but we took our first vacation, and that was incredible. Week long, and we saved all year long. And it wasn't just off of my income. My wife was doing some culinary stuff with, like the cake baking and stuff like that. I was also doing, do you remember when the wooden flags was really big, when people would build the wooden flags? I was building them. We lived really close to a military base, so that little side gig done pretty good. But all of the extra money that we was making, we was actually, because we wasn't being bogged down by bills. We didn't have no debt at all. We had no debt. Even that credit card, there was nothing on it. I think I had $25 because you just want to keep that balance a little bit, just to it shows that it's active. But we didn't have any debt, so all that money we were saving for our vacation, and we took a vacation. I think we took $4,500 with us, and it was Branson, Missouri. Oh, I don't know if any of you have ever been to Branson. Branson's great, but we went there, so it's not, like we're going to Vegas or a cruise or anything. But we go on that vacation, and I'm telling you, money was not an object, and that was the best feeling in the world. And we did it again the next year, and then we took a pause on it the year after that because we was actually getting ready to move back to our hometown for our final stop. And my son and I started going to Talladega again. I grew up going to Talladega, big NASCAR fan. My dad and I always went. It was a tradition I wanted to start with my son. So we've done that every year since 2022. Um, there's been hard times, but we've got out of it, and now money isn't a fear to us no more. I'm not rich. I don't live in this, brand new huge house. I don't drive brand new vehicles. Matter of fact, I drive a beater farm truck. And that's another thing is right now we live on a farm. My law enforcement career ended due to, there were some injuries and some other stuff to go along with it. I left on good terms. My administration was super supportive and loving and helpful when I decided to step away. But we own a chicken farm now, and money is not a worry for us. But we've come full circle, and that's what my goal is I want to teach you how to come full circle, how what you're going through right now isn't the last stop. And I remember sitting in the shower scared to death. I was in the shower, I was working second shift, and I'll never forget, I was so stressed out over money. Our house payment was 700 something dollars. It wasn't even that bad. But to me, it was like the end of the world. And we were behind a month on the house. So we technically owed two house payments, the current month and then the previous month. And I was in the shower, I was getting ready for work, and I'm stressed. And my wife comes in. The bank that we owe money to for the house sends us one of those overdraft things where they, if you have it where, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but basically you paid too much escrow. So they send you a refund, and it was 700 something dollars. And my wife knocked on the bathroom door and said that we got that check, and asked her how much. It was 700 and something. And this huge relief came over me. And looking back now, right then I was like, oh, this is great. The Lord's delivering us, and this is wonderful. But looking back now, I'm thinking, if a $700 check made a huge difference in your life, then you're in pretty bad shape. So that's kind of where I was. But, now a $700 check is just kind of like a little bonus, and it's exciting, and you're going to get there. Just stick with me. Subscribe to this channel because I'm going to take you on your own journey and get you out of this financial mess. I'm going to perform first aid on you, and we're not even going to have to worry about surgery. We're going to fix it. We're going to stop the bleed, and we're going to get you where you need to be. Okay. Looking forward to the next one. I'm looking forward to you guys coming along with me, and I'm looking forward to helping you. Leave a comment below. Ask me any questions you want. I'm more than happy to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer them. But I'm looking forward to doing this, and I'm looking forward to seeing you come out on top, and you come out to realize that a crisis can easily become an inconvenience. But until the next one, be good, be better, be best. Find something that you feel like you can't do and go do it. And we'll catch you on the next one.